Hello.
So
Welcome.
for not being a native English speaker, I don't know if it's okay to say guys when we both have men and women, but I hope it is okay. If not, please raise your hand and shoot me.
Works
We
for me.
will. In Ireland, we use guys for everybody.
In
There you
Texas,
go.
we use y'all.
Yeah. Nice. It'll work.
Yes, sir.
So we'll just give it half a minute and then we'll kick on. I can see we also have Kieran on the list. So Thomas, you're not the only Irish.
Good.
Hello there.
Thank you.
Nice. So should we get at it?
Yeah.
On my screen, I see Thomas Redmond, which is nice. But I guess maybe it's just because I'm not very clever at making Zoom. Well, whatever.
I can see
some
your
of
I
you
can
guys.
see your opening slide, at least, Tom. So I'm sure the others probably have the same view as me.
Okay.
Hello,
Well, here we
Thomas.
go. Hi, Renate. Good to see you.
How are you?
Yeah, thank you. We are still in the cold fall of Denmark while you are in the early spring, I guess.
Yes, finally.
Amazing, amazing. So we'll jump into this. I'm sharing my presentation, and then we'll just hold on to the train while we are driving. Instructor Moments webinar, and today's topic is feedback. In many research people say that feedback is the number one learning amplifier, and I think when it's used thoughtfully, then I totally agree. It is really a learning amplifier. So that's what we'll be working on for the next 35, 40 minutes. And I hope you will enjoy, and I hope you will take part and be active. We will try to involve you as much as possible. This is my plan, or the plan for today, just a short introduction to who are you, and then we'll say a little about who we are and a little about the topic, feedback. Then we'll do a Q&A session where Alisa and Thomas and I, we will throw questions up in the air, and some of them we will answer ourselves, and some of them we hope that you will chip in answering, and so to share your experiences and your knowledge so we all get wiser. Yeah, and then we'll sum up, of course, and end up, I hope we have time for that, just some very quick news from what the training team in GWO is doing, what we are releasing this winter. And then, of course, because it is a feedback thing, we would like to get your feedback also. Generally, for the whole thing is, if you have a question, if you have a comment, raise your voice, put it in the chat. Is it possible to Zoom to raise a hand and react to something?
Yes, they can raise a hand.
Okay, raise a hand, and Alisa and Virginia will be keeping a close eye on what's happening.
Yeah, send you a message. I need to know what your Adobe password is.
So,
Jump onto
Ian Rook is on the go, as always. That is nice. Okay, we'll move on. The first thing we'll do is to find out, who are you guys? Good to see you back, Ian. Could you go to menti.com and use the code 7415-8180? And just, we have two questions for you. One is where you are in the world. I think it's amazing to see that we are actually global sometimes. The next question is about who are you? Are you instructors? Are you managers? So yeah, if you are both, you have to choose the one you like the best. So I will change my screen to the Menti, and so you can see the code. I'll try to do that. There we go. Is that you, Renate, who was very quick?
And if anybody didn't catch the code on the last screen, you can see it at the top here of this screen as well.
Yeah, thank you, Thomas. Sure, and yeah, it looks as if, Renate, you're getting smaller and smaller, but that is not the case. Oh, by the way, Virginia or Elisa, should we record this?
It's being recorded.
Amazing.
Yes.
This is the first time I remembered it. Okay, so we have a lot of European, South America, two from Africa, nice, Asia, North America. Some people have gone up early and some are still awake. That's nice. Think that we have 20 out of 22. It is probably as good as it gets. Thank you for that. And I will go to the next slide. So stay on the screen. Here we go. So please, yeah.
So just a little heads up, I do have two of us that are on this same screen. So
Okay.
there's actually two instructors. We're both from America.
Thank you, Kevin. Where are you in the States?
Houston, Texas.
Houston, Texas. Nice.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we were in Dallas. What is that, Virginia? 2 years ago? 1 year ago? 2 years ago.
I think almost 3.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, time flies when you have fun, right?
Exactly. And we have so much fun. So there you go.
There you go.
Okay. So thank you, instructors. ITG trainers are also instructors. So a majority, which is nice, of course. I hope you will share your experiences with us along the way. And yeah, and that you'll get some learning out of this as well. And I'll go to this one. Yeah, who are we? Virginia, you're just sitting there making sure that all the technical stuff works.
Mhm.
And you just say something if you want to say something.
No, it's okay. Not today.
Okay. And I can also say that Virginia is also responsible for our yearly forum. We just did one in Madrid, and she's still recovering. Jolly good. Elisa, you're here somewhere?
Yep, I'm communications associate, and today I'm just chipping in with some to help you and Thomas, because I used to be a teacher, so I thought this was interesting in terms of that.
Yeah, so Thomas and I will try to be the old wizards, and Elisa will be the not so old wizard who will ask the difficult questions. Maybe that'll be good. I look forward to it. Thomas, please, a word.
Yes, I'm part of the training development team along with Thomas Greenland, and I have a background in training delivery and designing training programs and working with teams of trainers to kind of collectively agree what good training looks like and what assessment looks like. So everything I think we'll talk about today is of lots of interest to me. So I'm looking forward to bouncing some ideas off the group.
Cool. Thank you. Yeah, and me, I'm just an old retired Navy officer who spent the last 5 years in GWO. I've done training development for 10, 15, 20 years. And yeah, that's me in the relevance to this webinar. We will share our mail addresses afterwards when we send you the presentation, if you want to reach out to us to share stuff or ask questions and other. And just a note on this, please don't hold anything back. I think when you're talking, you get your picture on my screen at least, because I only see Thomas now because he was the last one speaking. But yeah, don't turn off your camera. That is my word from here. So a word on feedback. Yeah, Hattie and Yates. John Hattie, I don't know if you can see it. One of my favorite books about learning, Australian researcher, with a lot of research in his luggage. And what he's saying is that, well, this is how you can define feedback, securing knowledge that promotes change. And I guess that's what we all try to do when we are instructors, when we teach people. We want to secure knowledge that promotes change, bringing the person closer to a well-defined goal. There are many other definitions. I just like this book very much, so I took that one on. This is my own definition of feedback. The green one, when I make illustrations, will normally be the learner. The blue one will be the instructor. And the instructor is holding the ladder here so the participant can cross the canyon. And the ladder is, of course, the feedback. That is how I see feedback. It's one of the most important tools for us as instructors. We can set up a lot of training scenarios and tests and stuff and tell them a lot of stories and show PowerPoints. But it's actually when we help them to cross the canyon that they learn and they get somewhere. Again, if this raises any concerns or questions, wonderings, do not hesitate. So now we will jump into the question and answer session, where we will ask some questions. And I could start. We haven't practiced this, I must say. So it is what it is, and we have questions, and we will ask and answer. And you please chip in as soon as you have something you would like to chip in with. But my first question is maybe a little, it's a difficult one, but it's for Thomas. So he's a talented young man. So Thomas, have you ever done feedback that was a challenge, that was difficult, that you didn't feel good about? And if so, why? What happened?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I think it's one of those challenges where feedback can sometimes be perceived in different ways. It may be perceived as something constructive or something critical. And depending on who's giving the feedback and who's receiving the feedback and lots of things around when that's happening and what's the impact of it, it can have different effects. I can certainly think of some moments as an instructor in the past where I've had to give feedback, and it was very difficult to give feedback for me and difficult for the person receiving it for different reasons. I can think of an example where I had somebody who was working offshore, and they were kind of nearing the end of their career, and to go offshore, they needed to refresh their offshore safety training certificates. And there were some parts of that which were quite physically difficult for them and maybe mentally stressful. And they were struggling to sort of perform some of the skills that were needed in order to complete the training successfully. And the feedback impact of, let's say, an assessment decision that wasn't a pass for them meant, in their mind, this is my last chance, this is my last contract, and if I lose this one, I'm not going to get another one, and so this is like hugely impactful. So their perception of the feedback was, this is a make or break for my work. And my perspective as an instructor was, I'm thinking about your safety, I'm thinking about the people that you work with, and I'm thinking about making sure that you're going back to the workplace and coming home from the workplace safely. And so we had two very different kinds of approaches to this moment. And so it was a very sensitive kind of discussion. Now, actually, thankfully, in the end, with some further coaching and some more time, that individual was successful eventually. But at that particular moment, it was not easy. You know, the feedback that they needed to receive wasn't feedback that they wanted to get, and it equally wasn't feedback that I wanted to give as an instructor. And those are very difficult moments. So it takes kind of a bit of a sensitive perspective to understand why this person is not wanting to receive the feedback, and it takes a discussion maybe to learn that.
Can I ask? Thank you, Thomas. Can I ask, when you did this coaching afterwards, did you have an feeling that the participant would be more receivable? Like, what's the right word? Positive to receive your coaching and your advice and your support after the feedback? Or were you
Actually,
just angry at each other?
No, there wasn't anger. There was let's say distress and upset in the candidate because of the impact. And when that became clear, we had to have a discussion for me to know this and understand this. You know, why is this such a strong point of contention? And this older gentleman had become so stressed that there was no way he was going to get through these exercises at that point. And for him, that was kind of like the end of the road. Now, it wasn't really the end of the road. We could continue with the rest of the training. And then later on, when we took some time in the afternoon, when maybe some others had successfully completed, to work with him alone and some of the instructors and get him where he needed to be to get through his assessment. So just changing the context and dealing with the kind of stress and panic and alignment in our perceptions was able to put him in a position where he was then able to succeed in his training and his assessment. And I think there's lots of examples of that for different reasons in different training contexts.
So when you say aligning the perspectives, could we talk about, do participants and instructors, are the perceptions or the perspectives on feedback, are they always aligned, or are they always different, or what is your experience on that?
On perceptions of, I think, well, I don't want to just talk at length, so I'm going to throw out an idea, and then maybe we can invite some of the participants to contribute some thoughts as well, because we have a lot of experience in the room, I believe. So I would say that instructors and participants certainly initially may have very different perspectives on what feedback and assessment and training, what's happening in that moment. I think just to give some ideas about potentially what is an instructor viewing that moment as, you know, maybe feedback is a tool for teaching. Maybe it's something to improve performance. In the participant's perspective, it's maybe a personal evaluation and a judgment on them. It's also maybe a moment to seek reassurance and confidence. And so the two people are looking at the same moment from very different lenses. And I think there's other examples of that. I would say it's important to explain between the two parties, why are we giving feedback? Why am I seeking feedback? Because the two people can be thinking about this from very different vantage points. And I would invite, you know, we've 30 experienced trainers in the room. I would invite some other perspectives if we have some.
Does anyone want to share their experience? Has anyone had a similar experience of delivering feedback or maybe receiving feedback? If you have also once been a participant before you became an instructor, like maybe you have that unique insight.
So,
Ian,
we can go ahead.
Am I good to go?
Yeah, go for it, Ian.
Yeah, I don't always think we do a very good job of selling feedback, if that makes sense. I think we make a lot of assumptions that our participants understand what the feedback process is about, and I don't think we always take account of both individuals and cultural differences. You know, it's all very well sometimes to come at it from a Western lens, but you know, if some of our learners are not from that same sort of cultural background, then their perception of feedback can be completely different to what we see it as. So I think we need to make a better job of selling it as a positive process, even when some of the things that we have to say may not be perceived as so positive, because at the end of the day, it's all about enhancing that learning experience and giving our participants an opportunity to achieve the goal that they want to achieve.
I think that's totally valid. And I mean, we have a kind of a geographic spread in the participants. I've certainly, you know, working in the Middle East, Africa, India, North America, Europe have experienced quite different perceptions of feedback and what it means to constructively criticize somebody's performance in those different regions can be quite different. It depends on what age you are and what age they are in some places. It depends on your role in the company. It depends on lots of things, the people around you. Do you have a manager and some non-managers in the same group? Kevin, you've something to add?
So being in America, and we're kind of new to GWO as far as the wind, and it is authorized or is being required for offshore. We're actually getting a lot of personnel that see a lot of the courses and the modules that we do as not being needed. We get captains of vessels, we get cable layers, drillers, all those that come through. And that's one of the hardest part is us trying to explain the necessity of the course and that it, again, it is your safety, even though they feel, especially the captains of the vessels, they've been doing captain for 40 years and I'll never climb a wind turbine in my life. And it's just ridiculous that I'm wasting my time and this and that. And, you know, we're trying to explain to them the necessities and all that. So it does get pretty tough. But as Mr. Thomas mentioned, you know, when you can sit down and talk to them through it and then work with them, a lot of times you do see the positive from the feedback after that. But initially, it's a lot of disgruntled and unfortunately sometimes anger towards us as the instructors. And we're like, we can't, we can't, you know, tell you what needs to be done or not. We just have to follow along with the standards.
And you mentioned something, Kevin, there, which I think stands out to me, and certainly with experienced people with different experience coming into a new learning environment, maybe the first in a while, they don't want you to just tell them something. And that conversation is really important, where you're
Yes.
sharing in both directions.
Exactly. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Any more perspectives that you want to share?
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Seshadri.
Yes, sir. I'm from India. I'm an instructor on all the 4 modules: fire awareness, first aid, manual handling, and worker diet. Over the last 10 years, I've been an instructor in this. And as you rightly said, there are a lot of cultural differences across the world. But India is one melting pot of cultures within the same country. Within the same country, you have a melting pot of cultures where language makes an impact, and also the number of years experience makes an impact. For example, there are people who attend my training who have more than 15 to 18 years of experience. They would have joined as a wind technician. Today, they would be planners, managers, etc. But when they first underwent work at height training, it was more from the top of the nacelle that they had to come down. But today we have these structures where the height is not more than 11 to 12 meters. And for them, coming down that structure is fairly easy. They think so. But when they come back after 2 years and try to redo it again, that's when they feel that it's again difficult. One. And second, the point of the feedback, like Thomas was telling, it's again like who is giving and who is receiving. The world itself, the human nature is, no one likes a constructive criticism in a feedback. Even I, as an instructor, when some of my co-instructors tell me, sir, this is not right, you know, you went a little bit, gave a lot more information than what you give, not needed. The immediate thing what I tend to do is I tend to justify. No, this particular point, it was needed and all these things. The same reflects back from the other side also. And what also affects the general feedback these days is the number of questions we put in the feedback. We have about, if there are a minimum of about 10 questions to answer, it'll be easy for the participant to answer, move on through the session. But when we give them a lot more questions to answer, so that's when they know after answering a few certain questions, they feel that this is all not so necessary to give all the feedback, and that ends up as a conflict, what to give and what not to give. Though they go back with satisfaction, and more so, people have also give feedback based on what they have underwent already. In a wind turbine industry, people keep on changing. One works for an X company, then moves to a Y company, comes back again. So they refer to the standards as what was maintained at the start and what is still being maintained. If the standard,
Shafi, could I just ask, when you say you mentioned questions and feedback as opponents or supporting each other?
it's supporting each other. It's not opponenting each other. But
Okay.
sometimes the questions feel that why should I answer so many?
Yeah.
Like,
And-
how good was the theory presented? Did I need all this theory? How was the practical scenarios? How did I enjoy or the instructor enjoy? These simple questions would make it even more better in terms than putting complicated things. Now, when we complicate things with a little more agree, strongly disagree, that's when, people tend to get confused as to what happens.
So if you should make a one-liner for my learning log, what would that one-liner be?
The one-liner is, if the standards maintained are even throughout day one, for so many years, if the organization continues maintaining the standard of instruction, standard of instructors, and pretty much the same, then the feedback is always healthy. But when people do not follow the standards, that's when the difference of opinion comes. And that's where maybe that little bit of friction might arise.
And now we should be careful not to go down that road, because that's a long and winding road. But thank you very, very much for this input. Are there any comments to this?
Yes, hi.
Yes. Hi.
It was a very important thing that he said. First of all, hi all. I'm Alex from Romania.
Glad you are.
Welcome, Alex.
A good thing that he said was about instructor to instructor feedback, colleagues feedback between each other, because we do have different types of teaching, personal sort of type of teaching. And when you ask a participant for a feedback, exactly like Thomas said, people do differ, and you have to know how to approach them and how to ask the questions. For example, I came across a few times where people just plainly denied to do some exercises because they thought they were unnecessary. For example, in first aid, especially because they said no in first aid, whatever. So the thing is, you have to know how to approach the person and to put them in the right scenario for him to imagine, and then to carry on with what you would like him to do. The good thing as well, the feedback between colleagues is very important. I have had colleagues who were basically starting on a subject and then going way outside of the subject, basically. So that happens quite often with some people, and then it's important to give each other feedback in the organization.
So you use feedback also to develop yourselves as instructors, peers?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
nice.
correctly, yeah. And one more thing I wanted to say about what he said just now. It's the feedback form. It's good to have 10 questions. It's in general, people just make a minus sign and they just sign it and that's it. So this you can see out of like in an average of 10 people, maybe 2 are actually giving a feedback. So what we started doing is having the feedback literally at the end of the session, to all talk about what happened, how we what we thought was interesting, what about all the exercises, about the scenarios, and regarding the module itself, it basically starts with a feedback back and forth, and it ends with a feedback back and forth.
Can I ask, is it all the Alexander, is it all the participants taking part in this discussion?
Yes, in general,
Cool.
yes. When the best time in my experience to do this, it's when you have refreshers and initials in the same group, because you, for example, for a fire awareness module, you can have a or for enhanced first aid or something like that, you can have guys with 10, 12 years of experience, and people who have never been on a wind turbine, but they do have experience in the industrial work. So then the feedback, what I said, the session starts with feedback and ends with feedback. Basically, you sort of, everyone has some input in the discussion, and it's like a continuous feedback on the exercises and on previous experience. So yeah, in general, what I wanted to say is that the sheet of paper that you give to the people doesn't always work. In most cases, it doesn't work if you don't
And
follow
the one-liner, so okay, your one-liner, what would that be, Alexander, for your input?
Keep feedback continuously and engaging.
I can hear the music. Thank you. Okay, wonderful. Thank you very much. Any other comments to this? Time is flying, and I think we have time for one more question only. Thomas or Lisa, do you have anything burning on your mind?
We were just considering, with Alexandra, you made some really interesting points that were you referring to assessments there when you were describing that feedback process with the initial courses and refreshers?
Not to the assessment, but on the module on the whole, basically.
Right. That's
So
great.
what I wanted to say is, like, the people who come from, for example, a crane operator tries to be a wind turbine technician, and then he has his experience, but throughout the module, throughout the session, he can hear feedback from more experienced people, because when you have it is often the case when you have 3 or 4 technicians that make a group, and they are all fresh, and basically the only feedback they get from the real world wind turbine industry is from the instructor. So when you have a mix of people that are new and old, it's always fun to make them basically input stories. Basically, you go through a few sections of the presentation, and then you ask for experiences, and then the group knows each other better, and they all input. And at the end of the module, it's a lot easier for them they feel more comfortable to give a feedback, because they have been speaking throughout, and they have been engaging with the others, and now they don't feel like they were sitting on their phone and they just have to say something in the end. They were doing it continuously throughout.
Okay, thank you for that. So I think we have only time for one more question. And as I am holding the microphone, I will pose that question, and I will pose it primarily to all of you, but also to Thomas Redman, because what I hear and what I think about feedback, if we should have success when we provide feedback, I think respect is one of the key words in our feedback. And Thomas, my question to you is, how would you make your feedback both genuine and personal, but also respectful?
Yes, so that's a challenge. That can be challenging. I think it's important to build a feeling of equity in the group. You have, as you've described, Alex, new people and experienced people, and they're seeking something quite different from their feedback. The less experienced maybe want you to build their confidence and motivate them and maybe direct them in how to do something, and they want to learn, how do I do this? Where experienced participants, they want to collaborate, they want to refine and perfect their practice, they maybe want to share with their peers. And so that's very important to recognize the individual and what that individual is seeking and what will support them in the feedback that you're sharing. So that makes it personal, and that's quite important. That can only happen if you have had a very good conversation when you kicked off the class, so you're not lecturing to a room full of doctors about first aid. And I've had, doctors sitting in on the GWO first aid in the past, and I wasn't going to tell them how to, check for a pulse. So that's really important. In terms of making feedback respectful and genuine, it can help to have some structure so that you don't get bogged down in somebody who's struggling getting all of the attention or feeling, overly criticized. And so I think for instructors, it's great to have a little toolkit. You've got like different types of kind of tools in your kit in terms of structuring feedback. So something like SBI, situation, behavior, impact. It gives you a kind of a standardized framework or a scaffold that you can present little bits of feedback for everybody. Everybody feels that they're sort of been treated equally, even though they're getting their own feedback. It's still presented in this way. This is what we saw. This is why we saw it, and maybe this was the impact, and then let people reflect on it. And definitely encouraging that conversation, I think, lets them feel respected. They can share as well as receive.
Thank you. Wonderful. And then I just skipped a couple of my slides, but you will see them when you get the mail with the slides. But I want to share this one of two reasons. Partly because it took me a long time to draw the burger, but also because it actually has a good point in it. So when we talk about feedback and praising people, what Hattie says in his book is that too many young people, especially, they cannot do anything unless they get praised all the time. And if they don't get praised, they don't do anything. So this thought about, I work because I want to work correctly and as safe as possible and do my best all the time. And then sometimes maybe I get some praise. That's nice, but that's not what keeps me driving. So this is, Thomas, what did you call it? You can say it.
Yeah, this is what was you had a very politically correct term for this. I don't know what you were calling this burger.
So normally in my, well, we would call it a feedback burger, but I don't know if any of you guys have other names for it. The point is,
it probably does.
Sorry?
I suspect Ian Rook probably has.
I'll say it. It's a shit sandwich, isn't it?
Oh, he said the words. Yeah. So and the point is that this is the criticism. This is saying what was not good. This is the actual steak burger, whatever we call it. And the bun is all the sweet stuff. Yes, you did well, and you looked good, and you came early. That was nice. And then comes the shit, and then comes the nice again. And the problem in this idea is, well, the idea is, of course, we must try not to make people sad. But if we think that feedback, if people want feedback to improve, then we should just tell them how to improve. And that is what the steak is about. But if we tell them all this good stuff, then they don't hear the steak. Thomas, your hair is wonderful. You really suck at what you're doing, but your shoes are shiny. Oh, my hair is good and my shoes are shiny. That was a good day. That's the point. So the shit burger or the feedback burger is gone.
If I could chip in there, Thomas, with this,
Yes, please.
the occasional unpredictable reinforcement produces strong and lasting habits. So this feeling of surprise, so if you're continually praising someone or continually criticizing them, they're not going to get that variation, which is going to spark, oh, this person said something actually different and maybe valuable to help me in my learning process. So I think like this, what you've highlighted here is interesting because it's also kind of highlighting the learning process when we take something new and try to put it into our long-term memory. And at the same time, try to change the relationship between the things we've learned and the things we already know, that try to kind of build those new connections. I think it's maybe also saying something to that about how good feedback can do that. It can change, like transform our current understanding. Whereas maybe criticism, it might not be so specific to the learning process in that sense.
Cool. So when I see the recording of this meeting tomorrow, I will take it slowly so I can write down what you said about the different things. That's very useful. Thank you, Elisa. Amazing. Wonderful. Okay. So some questions for you to bring back to the training center. questions for reflections about feedback. You can think about it if you like. You can pose a question to us on a mail if you like. A few tips you'll get in the PowerPoint as well. Don't forget learning from mistakes. It's not just an old cliche I say here. Of course, if a lot of people say, yeah, but they can die in the military. Every time I said, hey, you have to use mistakes as a learning amplifier as well. And they always said from the army, yeah, they could die from that. And I say, yeah, they don't die in the classroom, hopefully. So don't miss or don't think too little about the mistakes. They're good learning amplifiers. Yeah, time is flying, so we won't have time for this, unfortunately, but maybe you can put it in the chat, or maybe you can put it in a mail to us if you have some very good tips for, we can take one or two. Do we have one or two good tips from you guys? How to provide motivating feedback to enhance learning? Anyone wants to give it a try?
Yeah, we can go it in this way. Let's not make the feedback too personal. The feedback
Okay.
should be specific on the scenario or whatever the learner has participated, what he has done correctly, what he has to improve. So
Good,
that
thank
will
you.
help. That will help in sharing a bond, where it
Yes.
says the instructor is interested in the learner and there to help him to learn.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Anyone will have the last one?
But maybe if you bring to your feedback, if you connect it with a real world example, if you if you put it in perspective,
so they can see what they're going to use this for in
yes,
real life. Yes,
and
good point.
the attitude that needs to be right, and
Yeah, perfect. So if you would like, this is a commercial. If you would like to learn more about this stuff, we do these IQT, or we don't do them, but training providers around the world do IQT, instructor qualification trainings, 3 days trainings for experienced instructors, where you'll get a little more behind the scene and work with these concepts to improve your instructor practice. How long time? We have 3 minutes. Oh, can you do this afterwards? If you have 5 minutes after the webinar, the presentation will be open. Sorry.
Thomas, we will send them the feedback form. So it's okay. They will receive it tomorrow and they can share feedback via the form.
Okay, wonderful. What I would especially like to get feedback on is 2 things. Did you get anything out of this webinar? And the second thing is, how was this question answer thing? Because that's a new thing we have been trying. Was it a waste of time, or was it useful, or whatever? Those are the 2 main things I would be interested in. Wrap up. Oh, I love this morning from Australia. Beautiful. So what are we doing in GWO now? The feedback is over, and I'll just spend 2 minutes in saying what are Thomas and I and our colleagues doing in the training team. This is the list of standards we are releasing this winter, and all you training providers probably say, bloody hell, we have to make a lot of changes. Yeah, probably. I'm sorry, but it is what it is. Any questions to this? You will only get short answers because time is flying, but do you have a question to the list? Okay. There you are, Ian, looking fresh, as always. So if you would like to go further than just doing an instructor crossover training, you can also join a Train the Trainer course. The next one we are doing will be in Orlando in January next year. And then we'll do one in Taiwan in June. Those are also quite interesting, I think. Thank you for joining, guys. It was amazing. Thank you for your contributions, for your sharings. And I hope to see you next time. Not necessarily tomorrow morning when we're doing the same thing, but next time we do with a new topic. So if nothing else from you, I'll just say thank you for today.
Hey,
Have a great
Thomas.
Thursday. Bye.
Thomas.